Hi, welcome back. So it's been a really long time, but I'm here, baby. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Gibby Kane, as you know, mother of monsters, and it's been a really long time since I recorded. In this past year, I turned 30, and I also graduated my apprenticeship at the tattoo shop I was at, which is really exciting. Yeah. It took a lot of hard work, but we got there, and I'm just happy to pass on the knowledge that I've gained along the way, passing the savings on to you. I keep getting hit up for the same questions that I have been asked repeatedly from my first apprenticeship video, Apprenticeship 101, how I got my apprenticeship with portfolio tour, blah, 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 whatever, pop in the link above. So, I covered how I got my apprenticeship, but since then there's been a lot of information that I've figured out along the way. And if I can keep her off of this microphone. Hi. Hello. Hi, honey. This is Spot. Everybody take a moment to acknowledge how beautiful she is. Anyway, so there's a few things that I haven't covered in past videos that now I realize are kind of vital now that I've learned what to look out for. Few things that you might want to do when you're in the process of getting your apprenticeship. Obviously, you want to have a portfolio, which I've talked about. Obviously, you want to do your research about the shops that you're going to, figure out what they're going to charge you, if they're going to charge you. Talk to your mentor-to-be. Are they a good fit? Are they going to take you seriously? Do you have what you need to get started? Maybe your portfolio needs a little bit more work, and if you're really serious, you'll apply yourself, take those notes into consideration, and move forward accordingly. There's a few things that you want to look out for when you're in the process of looking for an apprenticeship. You don't want to be so desperate that you take whatever comes your way. You really do need to do a bit of research ahead of time. That's not to say that there'll be a perfect fit. It probably isn't going to happen, but at least if you follow my advice, you'll be able to get close. So for me, I had a very positive experience with my apprenticeship. I think everything went really well. I've heard some really crazy horror stories, so there's definitely some things you want to look out for. Hazing, a lot of sexism, and generally just a lot of shady characters making you do shady things. So if that's something that causes you a little bit of hesitation, you probably want to do some asking around. And those guys, they're really obvious. They're going to tell you all about it. They're going to brag to you, like a lot. These guys make asshole their personality. That being said, there's nothing wrong with asking, like, what happened to your last apprentice? Why is your apprentice no longer working for you? Things like, what kind of things do you put your apprentices through? There's no harm in asking, and honestly, you are doing yourself a disservice by not doing a bit of research ahead of time. Maybe even reach out to past apprentices that you know of or people have told you about who worked for them. Chances are, if there's a revolving door at that shop, you might be onto something there. Avoid shops that are going to have you sign contracts as well as non-competes, which is so crazy to me coming from corporate, like that there are shops out there who make you sign a non-compete. That is really odd. If you have if there is a lawyer accessible to you, there's no shame in sending some of those documents over to them and have them look it over. If that's something that is out of your price range or doesn't come easy to you, I would just approach that really carefully, because not everybody has your best interest in mind. Paying for your apprenticeship. This has been a really odd one lately, especially it seems, because there's a lot of shops that do charge for apprenticeships, and there's a number of shops that don't. It really comes down to the area that you're living. I say it once, I say it again. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to apprenticeships and mentorships. Like, So, they're going to be making it up as they go along. This is not a industry that is heavily organized, so you don't really know what you're getting into. It's going to come down to the individual. There are some numbers that make sense and some numbers that don't. I've heard of people paying $5,000, $6,000 for an apprenticeship, which I guess if you're 18 years old and you don't have a college degree and you don't have any work experience, maybe they're just trying to weed out the ones who aren't serious. I get it. Money does make people a little bit more serious. However, that's a lot of money. And you'll notice that a lot of those guys will be, it's usually dudes, they'll turn around and they'll say, hey, this goes towards all of your equipment. This goes towards the time that you take from my pocket. This is also the fake skin that I'm buying you, and any equipment I'm buying you. And sure, yeah. But you're also not going to be using a lot of that equipment or that ink or, the time is valid, but a lot of that's not going to come into play until, like a while, right? Because you're going to be starting on fake skin for a long time. And yeah, you'll have a machine, but it'll probably be a dinky little machine, something from Amazon that's not very high quality. That's maybe $100 there. Fake skin's maybe $100 there at the most. And then you get some cheap, not very high quality black ink to pull lines on. That's maybe like $30. So I'm just not seeing that number. That doesn't really make sense. I think it's okay to walk into these situations with a critical eye, because you will be taken advantage of. These guys will do that. It will happen anywhere you go. It's part of life, right? So just protect yourself. Just be smart about it. Again, that's why I'm here. I'm going to tell you all the things to look out for so it doesn't happen to you. I was very wary of it, and I'm glad I was, because had I not, I think I would have been taken advantage of pretty quick. Some people are of the mind that this is somebody who contributes something to the industry as you see it. So you're not going to charge somebody because you want to bring them on because they're going to contribute to your shop and they're going to contribute to the industry. They're going to contribute to your life. And you as the artist or owner or whatever, this is maybe a bit of idealism, but Big Meese has this mindset where you bring somebody on, it's not an intent of making money off of them. So you really want to keep in mind, what is this person's intention towards me? What do they want to do with me? Where do they see me growing into this business of theirs? How does this fit? And if this is just a kindness of them because they saw something in you, then you're probably at a place where they do care about you. And that's really special and rare. I've seen it. It does exist. I promise you, there are shops out there. But you find yourself in a bit of a waitlist situation where it's like, hey, this is the right opportunity for me. I want to work at this shop, but they already have an apprentice, so I'm going to have to wait until that apprenticeship is complete. The other thing is, shops that have multiple apprentices, are they all under the owner? Are they all under one person? That's kind of a red flag too, because if you have multiple apprentices under one person, first of all, are not going to get as much hands-on experience as you need. That person is going to be distracted, pulled thin, and they're also going to be working at the same time. So unless you're an extremely self-sufficient person and that doesn't faze you, maybe it doesn't, I would be really wary of that, because it's probably a sign that that person is going through people quickly, wants to make a lot of money off of them, especially if they're taking percentages and throw you onto skin right away. That's really worrying, because you can really fuck people up. If somebody has an autoimmune disease and you cross-contaminate, you could kill somebody. This is not just we're not just making art here. We are handling people's health and safety. This is a big deal. So if your mentor isn't taking this as seriously and they're just throwing you onto skin, even though they've watched you cross-contaminate, even if you don't know any better, that's a problem. That's somebody who is not doing the industry right either. There's apprenticeships that I've heard of that are very streamlined. You go in and it's kind of built into a semester system like school is. You get your first semester where you are drawing, your second semester where you're on fake skin, your third semester, you start working with clients, but mostly you're just making other people's stencils, you're cleaning up, you're breaking down, you're setting up. And then the final semester, you find yourself on skin, making your percentage, and then you are getting your on-skin practice on friends and family, but you're doing it at a steep discount or free. So every shop is gonna have a different approach to it, but hopefully all of the things that I've just said will kind of help you be prepared for any and all that comes your way. Ultimately, you need to make sure that your goals are going to be met at the place that you end up. And if you're concerned that they won't be, are you going to be able to navigate out of it in a way that keeps you protected? Because if you're in a small town and it's word of mouth, you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself professionally and also honestly. So you got your apprenticeship. Congratulations, you did it. You came in with a great portfolio, you got a mentor who cares about you, you didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for it either, so you get to go on this grand new journey of experimentation and practice. So practice makes not perfect, but improvement. So keep doing it. Keep going and going and going. Start with your fake skin, get your fake skin down, get your pulling lines clean, and then once you have that mastered, you can move on to skin. However, it's so different. It's crazy different. If you start practicing on fake skin, God bless you. It's like tattooing leather. But the simulation is the same for breaking down and setting up. I'd say the biggest thing is contamination. So get your bloodborne pathogen training, get your first aid training. You can go to the links down below. And it's a great start to get yourself set up. And if your mentor didn't tell you to do that, you may be in not a good shop, because that is the most important shit you could do. Try different things. The most important thing you can do at this stage, before you start running, you need to learn how to walk. And I think that the best thing you can do is practice different styles, because you never know what's going to tell you the style that you want to do more of. And you never know where it's going to click for you. You know, with line work, it took me forever to get it down. I think that was probably the hardest part, was getting the line depth even, because you know, when you go into the skin, it's harder to blow it out than you think, but you don't want to look like a scratcher. And so when I first started tattooing, I had a lot of tattoos fall out, and it was incredibly embarrassing. But I also wasn't getting a lot of hand holding too, so like I was doing it and it looked fine, but then the client would come back and everything had fallen out, and I'm thinking, oh God, what's happened? But you know, nobody was sitting next to me the whole time and telling me, okay, I'm watching you and you need to go in a little deeper. You need to be hitting that, 1/18 of an inch. So a lot of that was trial and error. You're going to probably have your own version of that. That's just kind of par for the course. Push yourself and try things that are out of your comfort zone. I'm not saying that you need to do something that is so wildly out of your comfort zone that you completely fuck it up. But you should be pushing yourself. Do it when you're ready. Color realism was always very hard for me. I really struggled with color for a very long time. And then one day I watched my mentor do color and I said, oh my God, I get it. So I was able to go and practice on my friend and pull together a pretty okay piece at the end of it. It's recognizable. It was a strawberry. It looked like a strawberry. So everything worked out okay. But that being said, you should still have it in your mind as a goal. Like, hey, I'm not good with this. This is a weak spot. This is a blind spot. What will happen if I try working towards it? And maybe it'll become something that you really want to do more of. But like for me, I want to book more color. Who would have thought? Don't bite off more than you can chew though. Like, you can sometimes get in over your head. It's happened to me a couple times. A good mentor is going to protect you from those kinds of situations. Like, yeah, you can be thrown in sink or swim on situations, sure. Again, it comes down to your mentor, it comes down to your learning style. Maybe that's something that doesn't work for you. I kind of figured, well, if I don't try, I'll never learn, so fuck it, I'll do the neck, But then you find out how wildly difficult it is, and you haven't even mastered your line work yet, right? And you're already like trying these challenging parts of the body. I think in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done a lot of the things that I've done. I sure as shit would not be having my apprentice doing a lot of the things that I was doing. Like, yeah, I got lucky that more problems didn't surface. oh well. Stick to easy areas, just like for a while, you know? It's okay. You have your whole life, your whole career ahead of you. I needed to, I was broke. I needed to make money. So I just like threw myself into it completely. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, but if I can just get them over with, then I'll get there faster, which I got lucky. It worked out for me, but like, I'm not saying that's a good approach or the right one. To be honest, it isn't really. I think in hindsight, I probably would have taken it slower. I would have focused more on getting my line work down on fake skin, and then transitioned into arms and legs. You know, the other person that I apprenticed with while I was in my apprenticeship, she took a more apprehensive approach, and I think she had the right idea because I really just threw myself into it. But she had a lot less errors along the way, and I think in the end, she got there a little faster than me, although she had been doing it a bit longer. But it just goes to show everybody's got a different way of doing things, and some people it just works best for them. Watching your mentor, watching other people in the shop, this is how you're gonna learn. You're gonna experiment, you're gonna make some mistakes, and then you're gonna turn around, and then you're gonna apply what you've learned and watched to your own previous mistakes, and then you're gonna figure it out. It's a really long, arduous journey. This is not an overnight thing. But that's okay, because as long as you're patient, you're in good shape. This is the biggest thing that I learned for myself personally. I may be projecting here. This may not have anything to do with you, but if you're in a shop full of old guys who have kind of a more OG way of doing things, you may find yourself being the walk-in warrior. That's okay. Walk-in warrior is the artist who eats the most shit most of the time. So the group of girls on their bachelorette party looking for matching infinity signs, we love them. That's yours. The weird guy who wants something that may be used in the court of law later, that's also yours. This is the rich tapestry that is being an apprentice. You're gonna get a lot of experience. This is great. However, sometimes it's not worth it. You will find out very quickly that when you get the sketchy dude who just got released from prison and he's sitting there telling you all about escaping some mental hospital and how he could kill you easily, true story, you will find yourself regretting that. So it's okay to turn things down. I'm telling you it's okay to turn things down. I didn't turn down anything. I said yes to everything that walked in through the door because it was expected of me. I was an apprentice. This was my job, right? But I think it's okay to say no to some of them. And if your mentor gives you shit about that, this may not be a good shop for you. I'm just gonna say it. Nobody should be pushing you into doing things that you don't feel totally comfortable with. They just shouldn't. And I say this with experience in education now in my back pocket. I'm telling you, that's a red flag right there. We've talked about red flags like paying for apprenticeships, signing contracts. We've talked about experimenting with new styles and challenging yourself. And we've talked about things to look out for with clientele and not saying yes to everything. One of the most important things we can talk about are some boring things. Like spreadsheets. You should totally be tracking your earnings. Spreadsheets are easy, they're cheap or free if you go to Google and you have a Gmail account. Congratulations. Going to Google Docs and creating yourself a spreadsheet. You're gonna wanna track the date, the name of the client, what you earned on that appointment, what was their tip, what do you owe percentage-wise to the shop, and then you're going to also want to track what are you paying the shop, what are your margins, you're going to want to track what you're spending, what kind of equipment are you buying, what investments are you making, are you pulling even, do you have razor-thin margins, are you overpaying in your percentages and therefore probably ready to move on to a chair rent? That's up to you. These are all things that you need to be keeping track of because this leads me to my next thing and final topic, taxes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You need to get your vendor's license, you need to get your LLC, you need to get a business account through your bank. And these are all things that are gonna save you so much headache later. I am telling you, just get it done. If you're early stages apprenticeship, you maybe don't need to worry too much about vendor's license, but once you graduate, that's something you're gonna need because the taxes are gonna come and they're not gonna stop coming. And you're gonna need to pay that every single month, at least if you're in the state of Ohio like I am. Your region may be different, so you might wanna do a bit of research. Also, you should absolutely get a tax guy. Your mentor's gonna tell you a lot of things, your shop's gonna tell you a lot of things. These may not necessarily be the best pieces of advice. Peachy, stop! Fucking hell. Okay. Oh my god, enchilada, stop.
Gigi, get out of there.
God, he's still dumping. I had a really weird experience where the people I was working at the shop with had a lot of opinions about how I needed to handle my taxes and finances and things, and it was kind of like, well, thank you, but no thank you. I have my own people I go to who are professionals who are like legally obligated to be up to code on these things. So just be aware. Sometimes people want to help and give you advice, but it's not always the most reasonable advice. It's also not always like the most legal advice. Like I also knew a tattoo artist who was like bragging about not having paid his taxes for 3 years. Pay your taxes. Track your earnings, track your expenses, and pay your taxes on time. Quarterly, if you can, if that's an option. Again, these are all really important things, and I know it's boring and I know it's a drag, but like, it's just a part of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner. These are all really important elements, and they're a lot deeper. They're a lot deeper than just like making fun art, which I don't think people always realize. And when you watch these kinds of tutorials or people on YouTube, there's a lot of these kinds of tattoo apprenticeship and how I got my videos. And they're all really great, and you should watch every single one of them that are out there because you never know what's gonna help you. I have to take a bit of the good with the bad. When you're in your apprenticeship, you're gonna have to eat shit. People are gonna tell you what to do, and you've gotta do it. And sometimes that's hard for people. I've met people who are looking to get into their apprenticeships, but they have a very specific idea of what they want to do, what they're willing to do. And I think boundaries are great, and I think you should have them. You know, at the same time, don't take no shit, but also be aware that you're coming into somebody else's career, somebody else's line of work. Take the L's, but try to just keep going too, at the same time. I've met some apprentices who have really massive egos, which is weird because you don't know anything. Like you don't. I still don't know shit. I'm a junior artist. I have a long way to go before I feel happy about my progress. I think I've made a lot of progress, but I'm still not where I want to be. That's gonna be a lifelong journey for me. Take the L's, embrace the L's. You're gonna fuck up a lot. You just are. You're gonna fuck up constantly, but you just have to keep going, power through, and try to have fun with it. At the end of the day, we're not working in an office. We're not working a 9 to 5. This is way better. So it's kind of worth it. You may still be looking to get your apprenticeship. I say this like every video, but I really mean it. Like, please don't practice at home. Just don't. And be really wary of anybody who encourages you to, because that's not good advice. You're gonna pick up bad habits, and then you're gonna be stuck with those bad habits, and you're gonna be trying to unlearn those bad habits, probably for years. So I don't think it's worth it. I think it's much easier to just go into a shop. You could even just go in and hang out. You can be the shop rat. Sometimes that's what lands you the apprenticeship. I've met those apprentices, and I think there's a lot more to be said about the right approach as opposed to the impatient approach. I've known scratchers who have the biggest egos, who are major assholes, who can't really hack it. And then I've met apprentices who've been doing it for a very short period of time, but they picked it up in the shop, they learned it the way they were supposed to, and they've been doing great, and they pull very solid lines. Everybody has a different way of doing it. You're gonna find what works best for you. All right, I think I covered everything I needed to cover. Well, I don't know how many more of these apprenticeship videos I'm gonna be making. I feel like I've made now 3, and I don't know how much more there is to say. But yeah, I had a good time. My apprenticeship was very easygoing. I worked really hard. I feel like I did an incredible amount of hard work, and that made the whole process much simpler for my mentor, who really didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. I feel like I had a really good time with my apprenticeship. I really enjoyed my experience with it. I worked really hard. I was in there every day that I could, and when I wasn't working on a client, I was working on a drawing or doing some research or studying. And education in general, it's as much work as you put into it is return on investment that you can expect. So just take it seriously and it'll treat you right. Anyways, thanks for having me and watching my videos. You guys are very cool. I have no idea what I'm gonna make next, and I have no idea when I'm gonna drop it. But if you have any ideas or you have anything that you want to see, drop them down below. I was thinking about doing like a setup breakdown tutorial. I don't know though, it's kind of a pain in the ass to do, so we'll see about that. I was also thinking about maybe doing like a live stream or something, like while I'm working on a client. Just depends on the client if they're down for that. Don't know yet. Again, I don't know. I might do a tutorial about gray and black realism and how I make my stencils for that, as well as my process of treating value. Again, if you have any ideas, if you have any interests, drop them down below, or if you have any comments, maybe something I missed, maybe something that I need to cover next time, let me know. Say goodbye, Spot. Say goodbye. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button, and yeah, I'll see you next time. She has no idea what the fuck is going on. I'm sorry. But yeah, keep your stick on the ice, and I'll see you next time.